Okay, it's time to take the BCS 749 up, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the flail mower to flail mow the cover crop on the garlic and shallot bed. And we'll give her a start here. Have this on, yep. My shop's a mess. I haven't cleaned this off in a while and it's been stored. Okay, we're headed up to the beds in the third food forest, where we plant the garlic and shallots each season. This is my first season shortly after prepping the bed, after pulling out all of the shallots and garlic, that I've used a cover crop up here. So there's several reasons why I want to use the cover crops, and I thought I'd just mention a few of those while I'm going through this. So that's the cover crop that you see on the screen right now. And there are times I'm using the BCS tractor, which is a two-wheel walk-behind tractor with a flail mower on the front of the tractor. The flail mower really chops everything up into very fine particles, increasing the surface area of the particles that sit on the surface of the ground. So some of the benefits, and one of the things I'll say also is, as I go along in here, you'll probably notice that some of the cover crop is actually getting caught on the front of the flail mower and is getting pushed, leaving a big mound of it. And so some of this, I'm actually pulling out some of the roots, which I don't like to do. That's why I keep trying to climb up on top of it with a flail mower, and I'll end up going over the surface a couple of times, going over the surface twice. So some of the benefits, certainly this is an ecosystem, the soil is, meaning that there's thousands of trillions of microorganisms in these beds that are dependent on having nutrients made available to them. One of the things that a cover crop does that everyone's aware of, well, it helps to stabilize the structure of the soil, decreasing the impact of wind and water, rain and snow from causing erosion. It adds lots of organic material to the soil, which improves the soil structure and function as well. These very large cover crops, you see all these yellow mustard and some of the brassicas there. Those flowers are bringing in all sorts of beneficial insects, which are really, really important to maintain the appropriate environment on our farm. These very tall crops, being this tall, what they end up doing is they compete with weeds for sunlight, water, and nutrients, and this helps to suppress weed production as well. The legumes, the vetch, the clover, the peas that are in here, they're all have a symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria, which helps to capture nitrogen from the air and put that into the soil for the crops that are going to be following as well. These help to also the cover crops, the soluble nutrients that are there at the end of a crop that you're rotating out. Those soluble nutrients can be recycled or reused by the cover crops that are here, and can put more nutrients that can be nutrients in the form of insoluble nutrients that the microorganisms can then process and have a relationship with the next crop that you're putting in. So it certainly can provide a nice heavy mulch as well to reduce weeds around your crops. That's not what I'm doing with this particular group right here. You can see that I'm going over the crop, over the beds right now a second time, because there's so much residual material that's still pretty chunky. So what I'm trying to do is chop that up further with the flail mower, break it down into small particles, increasing the surface area, so that if I do get it covered with a tarp, all of that will help to suppress more weeds and make this food available to both the microbial community as well as the macroorganisms like the earthworms as well. And certainly, like I've talked about before, those earthworms and certainly all of the beneficial bacteria, the archaea, the protozoa, the nematodes, they're all very, very beneficial. And what we got to do is provide the environment and the resources necessary to optimize their growth and development. So they're the ones that are going to go ahead and feed our garlic and shallots when we put them into the beds shortly. So I hope this helps to share some of my thoughts with why I'm using these cover crops, as I'm using them in several different places. And again, I'm just learning with these, and we'll see just how this works out when we get the crop planted. So I'm going to let the flail mower cool down and then clean that up. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the cover crop so far. We'll have to see how things go from here. You can see there are a couple of low spots and dips. This was all built, I think 2017 or 2018 is when I piled up rows of, all right, so years ago, around 2010 is when we cleared this whole wooded area here and dug down and buried the trees, the root balls, the branches and all that, and then compacted the soil on top of it. So this is all gravel up in here, but we did that and we cut in the swales after that, and this is all done very well. Then in 2017, I believe it was, or 2018, you can go back and see, is when I built these beds. I had been growing squash and other plants over in this area over here. I had compost over there on top of the gravel. But in this area here, I built up rows of wood chips and rows of compost, rows of wood chips, compost, wood chips, compost, wood chips. So that's what this is. So we got 3 nice beds that I've been growing garlic and shallots in for the last few years. And they've done very well. And we don't have irrigation to this area, and it's a raised bed, but it's done pretty well, except for last year the drought was really bad. So I plan on bringing a water line and getting a frost-free hydrant up here so that I can irrigate this during times of drought, since that seems to be more common. This, after harvesting the garlic and the shallots this year, so we had garlic here, and shallots in this bed. And there's rows where you see all the green there right now, where those are all wood chips, the paths, 2 paths here and 2 paths on the outside. And by putting the summer seed mix on top of the soil after moving the garlic and shallots out, you saw how large it grew up in here, and that's mustard and daikon radish and brassicas, vetch, a whole variety of different plants were planted in here. And it was so bulky that I actually had to climb the flail mower up onto it because it kept pushing it and tearing up some of the roots from some of the plants. So you can see in some of these locations, that's some dead material there, but roots getting pulled right up out of the ground. So this root isn't all the way up, and that's probably another daikon radish, but you could see some places the daikons were pulled right up out of the ground partially. But that may be a foot down in the ground yet. And so my goal next is, when Thea's home, here's more daikon radish here as well. It got pulled up and out. So some of it's still in the ground down below, and some of it got chopped off up here. Now the deer will probably come in here in the next couple of days. If Thea and I were both here at the same time and it wasn't a windy day, I'd tarp this, and I still plan on tarping it to cover it up and let the microorganisms start to feed on everything here, and just put more of that carbon, keep it in the soil, have the microorganisms build their structures as well, and then plant the garlic and the shallots in a few weeks, right after Halloween, before Thanksgiving, right around in that area, depending on how the weather is. So this is the area that we've been growing the garlic and the shallots in, and this is the first time I used a cover crop up here. So if you think this was of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and we'll let you know how everything works out. Thank you.